Let me be the 1 millionth commentator to point out that the always-online games-as-service model so much of the gaming industry is chasing right now has some problems. And not just for players, but for the developers as well. Because a perpetual experience is never finished. It's always in development and has to be paid for constantly. And I think it's this burden of eternal support that put an end to an intriguing entry in the battle royale genre, Spellbreak, and its developer, Proletariat. If you are unfamiliar with the game, Spellbreak was a third-person fantasy battle royale game that had a lot in common with old-school battle arena games like Unreal Tournament. The running, jumping, and gliding movement system allowed for quickly getting across the map, which was a very big map, by the way, acquiring loot, new elemental powers, and hunting down other players. All that was pretty fun, but what really made Spellbreak stand out was the art style. It had this American anime, Last Airbender look to it, with a lot of bright colors, special effects, and engaging character designs. Now, as much as those are definite positives, the game also had some significant problems. For one thing, the map was really, really big. It was too easy to just avoid other players until the late stages of the game, which honestly wasn't helped by the game's low player count. There was also a system that allowed you to level up your class for bonus powers and abilities that you have active at the beginning of a match. Essentially what this means is it's difficult for new players to compete with players who've been playing longer. Finally, as neat as the elemental abilities are, a major aspect of the combat is combining them. Say, using a fireball to ignite a poison gas cloud for extra damage. The problem is, a lot of these combinations are difficult to figure out and hard to make actually function. So the gameplay tended to devolve into spamming the fastest abilities. If I was going to put a number on it, I would give it a 3 out of 5. But I would balance that by saying that the game had a lot of potential, mostly because of the fun movement system and great art style. Now, let's talk about why Spellbreak failed. The number one reason has to be low player count. According to the sources I looked at, the game capped out at around 5,000 concurrent players, which is incredibly low, especially for a game with one game mode. Another issue was how the game is actually monetized. Spellbreak was free to play, with no subscription fees or anything like that. Now, like a lot of games, they had a store that sold cosmetic items and quality of life items. But for some reason, your character isn't customizable in Spellbreak. What you have to do is buy a whole new skin, and equip which skin you want to have when you play. You can't change the skin, you can't change hair color, or add extra accessories, it's one and done. There's also a system where you earn currency by actually playing the game, which would just encourage people to not buy things. So, Proletariat now has a game that they have to support forever, with a low player count, and a not all that functional monetization system. That still might have been okay, but Proletariat is a much bigger company than you might think. From what I understand, Spellbreak was created by about 6 developers, but by the time the company was sold, Proletariat had 100 developers. The company's growth was fueled mainly by speculators and angel investors. They also weren't completely dedicated to the support of games like Spellbreak. They also had work farmed out to them by other developers, such as the company that would end up acquiring them, Blizzard. Blizzard bought Proletariat for an unknown sum, but it is the largest acquisition Blizzard's made in about 10 years. Now let's stop and actually think about this for a second. Your failing company being bought by Blizzard is kind of like being rescued from the Titanic by the Hindenburg. Blizzard is in a very bad place as a company. They've been rocked by scandal after scandal, and they're being acquired themselves by Microsoft. The team from Proletariat is being folded into the development staff for World of Warcraft to work on their new expansion, Dragonflight. This comes off to me like a Hail Mary play by Blizzard. They need World of Warcraft to be successful right now. They've got very difficult competition from Final Fantasy XIV, and nobody is lining up to play Overwatch 2. At the time of this recording, Spellbreak is still up and will be supported through the end of 2022 and be taken offline forever in 2023. This game being successful was always a long shot. It was created by a developer that tried to expand too quickly. It was launched into a genre that's beyond saturated, with well-established players like Fortnite and PUBG hanging onto huge segments of the Battle Royale player base. And without enough features to really set itself apart from its competition. Gameplay and art style are great, but unfortunately, they weren't enough. Hopefully the team from Proletariat will be happy in their new role working for Blizzard. For what it's worth, I think it's a pretty good fit. Spellbreak's art style was one of its biggest assets, and for World of Warcraft, art style is kind of everything. The way WoW looks is one of its biggest selling points. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to support my work outside of YouTube, check out Sorcerous, a dark fantasy mystery RPG available right now on Steam. Follow the link in the description to watch the trailer. And if you'd like more reviews of movies, anime, comic books, or movies, check out Stupid Private right here on YouTube.
Hey kids, today's show is brought to you by the letter 4 and the number potato! I'm a stupid private.